Hello to all you poker players out there, and welcome back to the dark side of poker and Pot Limit Omaha. Last time I said I would probably start to break down small blind stats, but I was thinking it was better to actually go through race first in stats. So if we look through this spreadsheet that is provided by Jane Anders Poker and the Mastermind, I shall leave a link to it down in the description below. We can fill in these stats for early position, middle position cutoff, and button race first in, and I have done that. So if we see here in early, after the first 100,000 hands I played, I am not racing enough, and in the first three positions, and not even on the button. If we take a look at it here, after the last 25,000 hands, I am getting I'm racing too much on the dealer button, and still not enough from the other three positions. However, I think that I can do it a little bit better, so I created my own spreadsheet, because there is a thing here that if you race with limbers or if you limp behind, that also I think it should be a part of like that analysis, which is actually should be the very first video, the race first in, the race with limbers, and the limp behind. And so I just made this for like this YouTube channel here. So the first 100,000 hands, where we can see that on the button I'm going way up. I'm starting to actually race too much. Now these numbers over here is like the optimal numbers. I also taken that from this spreadsheet that is also provided by the Mastermind, where we can see we get the small blind race first in 2, which is 34.7% is the optimal. So here in the cutoff, I didn't race enough, or in the small blind I didn't race enough after the first 100,000 hands. But as I said down here, in the next the last 25,000 hands, I've been racing too much on the button, and in the cutoff I'm still behind with like 5%. In middle position I'm also behind with 7%, and early position I'm behind with like 3.5%. In the small blind I'm actually racing a little bit too much. So this is something I should investigate quite much further. And the thing about it is, like, when I open so much here on the dealer button, it's probably very often because I have a couple of wrecks in the big blind, in the blinds, where I know they overfold their blinds too much. So sometimes I don't even look at my hand. If I get the opportunity, then I just race. But it could be that I'm going overboard with that. But here in the other positions, when you very often have a bunch of cold callers in this limit, in this stake, then I find it hard to play a lot of these hands out of position, and that can be the reason why I tighten it up too much in these first three positions. And the small blind versus the big blind is very often also because I know I have a big blind that's overfolding in that spot, so I open up too wide. Nevertheless, when we look at this race with limbers, when we have a limber in the pot, the general rule you should stick to, if you sit here on in the cutoff and you have a limber from early or middle position, then you should raise hands that you would raise in a position earlier. So when I'm in the cutoff, I should raise my MP range. If I'm on the button, I should raise my cutoff range. Then there's a little bit of limping behind. So what I've done to investigate that is to set up 3 filters, which I've called race RFI1, RFI2, RFI3, and RFI4. And like for example, it can be interesting to run a filter from the dealer button with the hands I raise first in, because it would be nice to investigate why I'm going so overboard here. But what is more interesting is like to run a filter where there is limbers and what kind of hands am I raising there, and especially here with the fold first in, for example, in the different positions. So we can just take a look at it here. I set up these reports, but as usual we can't pull up hands here, so I think it's more beneficial to go over here, and then we can try and take one of these filters. There was like these here where we fold. So for example, here in the early position, we can pull up all the hands I fold, and in here we can start to go in and plug in some more filters to see what kind of hands we fold. We can just try and see it from high card strength if there's hands I kind of misunderstand, but I am not gonna go through any hands now, because at the moment I'm actually more interested in finding the correct way to structure my database analysis at the moment, rather than I'm interested in actually improving my game. And then after the next 25,000 hands, I kind of have the structure ready, and then I will probably go through a bunch of hands to see what is going on. But the end story is that I am too tight in the first three positions, early, middle, and cutoff, and maybe have got a little over aggressively here on the button, and that is something I would have to work on in the next 25,000 hands, I think, to really think hard about what kind of hands I'm folding here in the first three positions. But that was it for now, and I wish you all the best of luck in life.